Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Linfield Coaches CatChat. Joe Stewart out here at Roy Helzer Field with head Linfield baseball coach Dan Spencer. And the final week of the regular season, trying to not make it the final week of the season. Some big games up in Portland this weekend, Coach. You guys coming into the week now at 22-15, 11-10. That's tied for fourth in the Northwest Conference. But you guys control your own destiny going into this series at Lewis and Clark with a lot of the playoff picture wide open, but you guys right in the thick of it. It's been a crazy April for this team. You guys had a bumpy start before ripping off the 6-game win streak, including the sweep up at Whitman. But, of course, I have to imagine it was a little bit disappointing this weekend at home, dropping 2 out of 3 to Puget Sound. So team was hot coming into the week, and overall still playing seems like good baseball here late in April. But just overall, can you summarize the last few weeks for us and just thoughts as you go into the end run here?
I think that I think it's really been in conference, especially in conference, and I think if you take out a game, maybe where Whitworth beat us pretty good, and when we beat them pretty good, and then UPS got us good. But I think every other when you go back and look at all the games and all the scores and all the every game's a dogfight. Every game's you have to show up and play well to win, and you can play well and not win, but I think that the one thing that's been proven in our conference is the parity is there's a ton of parity, and like we've said before, everybody has some things they do well, and everybody has a little chink in the armor somewhere, and so I think that this weekend will be no different. Lewis and Clark is a veteran club, they do a lot of things well, and we need to go in there and play well to win a series.
So, with this time of year, not just on game days, but when they're out here paying the rent every day, right?
Yeah.
What is it like for a team in this situation where everything's up in the air, but you control your own destiny? And for you and your staff from a coaching perspective, how do you get them ready mentally for each of these games when they all pretty much feel like must win?
Right. I think that's a great question, and I wish I had the answer to that question. The one thing about our guys is they practice very well. They prepare very well. They train, they lift, they do all those things very well. What we haven't done very well all the time is I think they show up with intent in practice and games. We just haven't been consistent enough to we've lost some games in my mind, and that's my fault for not we've lost some games late in games with an inning we break down somewhere, maybe defensively, and maybe it's a walk and a boot and whatever it is, just some small things in one inning of some games that have hurt us. So and you could go back, and if we had time we could go back and we could look at them and figure it out, but baseball is a marathon, and we're at the end of the marathon here, so we need to finish, and not just the weekend but games. And be great in the 7th inning, be great in the 8th, and we can't. We've had games where we've played 27 innings on a weekend and played 25 great innings and 2 bad ones, and that's hurt us. And so we have to learn to stay with it, and we have to stay with it for 9 innings at a time, and they hear that all the time. And I think that it's a tremendous opportunity to practice and do things, because not everybody in the conference on any given year, and last year was the same way, is in it all the way to the end, where every practice means something and the games mean something, and that's why you play, is to play at the end.
So of course it was senior weekend, even with the disappointing results. You guys had a wonderful ceremony there before Sunday's games, honoring a pretty big group of seniors here for you. You got quite the mix. You got guys that have been here for 4 years. You got guys that have played college baseball for 7 years and spent the last 2 here and all this kind of stuff. But really an interesting group. I mean, they've accomplished a lot. This year is actually the most wins since you've gotten here as head coach in a season. Obviously, a lot of these guys were a part of that 21 Northwest Conference championship team as well. But tell me about this group of seniors and just what they've brought to the program and to this diamond every day.
Well, I think that they brought some, and we were just talking about maybe a lack of consistency in some games. But what they have brought is a tremendous leadership as far as the way we practice. They've built a culture of practice and train and understand that the things you do in August and September and October and November matter in March and April, and so they've adjusted that with some of the younger guys, and even some of the guys that were here, they've been very responsible for the competitiveness of the program and the change in this is how we prepare, this is how we do it. There's a lot less of that has to come from a coach now. The guys understand it, the players understand it, the older guys lead it. Even the guys that maybe aren't pitching as much or playing as much as a younger guy, that's still the message is the same. This is how we do it here. We pay rent every day, and we think that's what we're supposed to do.
Shout out to the class of 2025.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
For sure.
All right. Throughout the season, even when things have been up and down, the number one consistency has obviously been the starting pitching.
Sure.
I mean, that 1-2 punch of Camden Norman, Jake Swenson.
Yep.
Hard to say that there's a better 1-2 in the Northwest Conference right now.
I agree.
Yeah, and then your number 3 guy, you started with Zach Johnson,
Yep.
Matthew Tashney, then got the call to start being that guy. A little bit of a bumpy day for Tash. But I know you guys got a lot of faith in him, and you got a lot of depth there, too, in terms of options of guys that can eat some innings for you. But overall, that starting pitching group, what have they delivered? And I mean, this is the time of year where starting pitching makes or breaks games.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think that you're right. I think Orm and Swenson are the best, the 1 and the 2. And I think that, there may be a club out there that would argue that they like their guys, but I think that anybody out there would tell you that, hey, we would really like to have Orm and Swenson on our club. Any of the people in our conference. And Orem does a great job of setting the tone for a weekend with his competitiveness and the ability to go out and not just win a game, but keep you in a game against whoever else is number 1. And then when Jake has had the opportunity to pitch in that second role with big time number 1 stuff. And he's the same way. He's just younger than Orem is all. He very competitive, great stuff, and that's like Cam said that to me the other day. He goes, well, then Jake and I need to win on Saturday and make this. You know what I mean? And that's really when I thought about it going on the bus to Whitman. Wall. Hey, if Orem and Swenson win, we're in pretty good shape. And they can't, and they also understand it that they can't do it alone. We're gonna have to pick up the balls for them. We're gonna have to score some runs for them. And do some things, but they've given us, almost all the time they go out and they give us good starts and give us a chance to win. And so I think you see the guys rally around that. I think Zach and Tashini both have given us good starts in the past. We're trying to find the right role for that day, really the right combination. Is it Zach at the front? Is it Tashini and Zach behind him? Is it so there's been times when it's worked out great, Tashini won that game, started that game with the Whitworth win on Sunday. Was great against Whitman for 5. They're both going to pitch in some part of that because they're both very valuable guys. So we're really just trying to find the right combination.
Bullpen-wise, it's no secret that it's been up and down this year.
Yep.
But it seems like you have started to settle into your group these last couple of weeks. This time of year, what do you preach to that bullpen? How do you talk to them and make sure that they're, no matter what happened last game, no matter what happened against that same opponent 3 weeks ago, a month ago, how do they reset mentally for each game?
Those guys have to be short memory guys, the guys in the pen, from day to day. They can't get caught up in hey, I was great yesterday or I was average yesterday. And I think, that combination of Hampson, Zach Hampson, and Olette, have been great. They've been really good, those 2 guys late, and they're both young guys, so I think there's other guys that, Alder, we did some live stuff yesterday to try to make sure Alder's ready and Ludlow's ready. So I think that it's, like I said, it's you have to have a short memory. You have to live in the moment. We tell our reliever, the guys coming out of the pen, hey, look, you've been brought into the game to get this guy out, the first guy you face out. Not the guy on deck. So attack the first guy. That's the plan. That's what we're trying to get you to do. And for the most part, they've done a good job of that. And I think that the only thing you run into with young guys, pitchers and position players in college baseball, is the length of the season. So, in the Northwest, a Northwest kid plays 18 high school games, and then they have a round of playoffs or X, Y, and Z. So, they deal with that at our level of college baseball, all the way to the to the Power 4 conferences. Guys, the season gets long for young guys, and so far those guys have responded. Hampson and Olette are guys that take care of their bodies, they take care of themselves. They've been ready to go. They're ready. really the thing for the reliever is when the phone rings in the pen, it's I'm available, and get the first guy out you face.
Offensively, I want to talk about a guy who's been a model of consistency really since he got here to Linfield. But out in right field, Trent Wainfeld had the concussion early on, but hitting .370 to lead the team right now, and really truly becoming one of the top outfielders in this league this season.
For sure, and I think that's you said it. He's a complete player. He's a great college baseball player. He obviously he's offensive. He can hit. He can run some. He drives in runs. And he's a tremendous right fielder. He's a great outfielder. He leads the club and maybe the conference in outfield assists. He's just a really consistent player. If you take out, unfortunately, Fox hit him in the head with a pitch, one of the many guys they've hit with a pitch this year. And, he missed 2 weeks. So he didn't travel to Arizona, and he comes back from Pacific, and he's no good because he's still not ready. So if you knocked out the Pacific Series, he might be hitting 400. He's been you're right, a model of consistency, and he's a great example of, he doesn't have a lot to say, Trent, but he shows up every day ready to play. You never have to wonder or worry about, hey, whether Trent's ready or whether he's locked in, or because he's very consistent. He's the same every day, and it's a tremendous model, and we wish everybody could be just like that.
Luke Porter, we'd be remiss to go all season without talking about this kid.
Yep.
I mean, talk about a guy who came onto the scene and made advantage of every opportunity he's had. I mean, a guy that wasn't even dressing for games last year, and now is one of the most integral pieces to any Northwest Conference lineup right now.
I think that, and I think the thing about Luke, I'm very proud of Luke. He's a self-made man as far as baseball. Nothing was given to him. It was all earned. He had to, a week before we're getting ready to play in our opener, he's not playing very well, and I was on him about you're not on time in the game, in the scrimmages. You foul too many pitches off. You chase balls. You're not barreling. What are you gonna? I mean, you got to do something to get on the bus.
Right.
And so he came out in the scrimmage a couple days later, and he ran a ball off the wall. Jumped the first pitch, was on time to an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. And I just said to him from right here, I was sitting over here in a chair behind a table, and I said, look, that will get you on the bus. That might not get you on the lineup, but that'll get you on the bus. That's the start. And then he barreled a couple more, and then all of a sudden now, on the opening weekend, you got to find him an at-bat somewhere. And so he gets an at-bat, and he hits one in the, soccer fields to win a game, and still the next day he wasn't in the lineup. And I said, look, and he was okay with it. I'm sure his old man and everybody else is upset. The kid should be in the 4-hole driving in the, but you can't disregard what the other guys have been doing all spring and fall, and because he wasn't any good in the fall either. And so everything he did, I said, what it does is it earns him another at bat, and so he hits another ball hard on that Sunday. And so pretty soon he just kept producing, and so now he's the guy. He gets to hit in the middle of the order, and he's been consistent, and he's been great for us. And I think he understands, and I wish that, in any line of work, whether it's, this thing we do, baseball, we call it work, it's really not. But the consistency and the showing up every day is what fires up the people that employ you, and people want to understand. People want to know what they're going to get with people that work for them or are on their team or however the deal is. And he's been a very consistent guy and performer, and he understands how fine the line is. And I think that's a key for all of us, to understand how fine the line is between, preparing, doing the things you're supposed to do, to give yourself, not to be great, just to give yourself a chance to be great. Because you can roll out and do everything right and go for 12, and you can roll out and do everything right and get beat as a team. But you give yourself a lot more opportunity to have success if you do things right as you prep.
He's been electric,
and
really,
he's been great.
Yeah, one of those guys where the energy changes in the ballpark when he steps up to the plate.
Yeah. No, he's got it's real power.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real power. Pole to pole power. Yeah.
One more guy I want to ask you about is a dude you've injected into the lineup these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Obviously, the injury to Tyler Eisenhut earlier in the season was massive.
Yep.
Threw out a couple different young guys there, and nothing really quite was able to stick until you went to your veteran guy, Marco Santilli. And talk about a guy who's paid his dues, and he's been terrific defensively. Just one error in these last 3 weeks playing second base, .973 fielding percentage. What has he done for this team, energy-wise and defensively in the lineup?
Well, I think first of all, he has done a great job. He has done a super job, and he's another guy that has earned everything he's gotten. He also has an electric tool, quickness, speed. He can do some things, and what he's done in games is, he's covered a lot of ground. He's gotten on first, even though the numbers offensively are just okay, which is great. He knows that I need to defend first. If I defend first and I'm good at it, then I get to stay in the lineup, then I get to do my thing. And so I think that, again, he's a self-made man. Nobody gave him anything. And what he did is he took advantage of opportunity, with Eisenhut being hurt, and then McClory was sick. And so now you're the guy, and he's been great. He's taken advantage of his opportunity. And again, I think it's a great story. And I think it's a great testimony to a guy just sticking it out, hanging around, because he could have easily gone, hey, you know what? I'm not getting my opportunity. I'm just going to pack it up and go be a student and do my deal. And he stayed with it. He grinded it out, and now he's in the middle of it.
Love to see it. All right, Going back to the Lewis and Clark series this weekend, May 3rd through May 4th there. And as we mentioned, 2 through 7 in the Northwest Conference standings, wide open right now. And only 4 teams get to keep playing next weekend. What's on your mind? What's going to be the message to your guys as you get them ready for 3 of the biggest games of the season?
Well, I think the thing is, and the message has been the same, so maybe I do need to change it. but the message has been, hey, look, you don't need to be. I told this to Tyler Marr the other day. I thought in the second game Saturday that I thought he was over-trying just a little bit. I said, look, you're Tyler Marr, man. You just need to be Tyler Marr.
Yeah.
You don't need to be Tyler Marr plus or anything more than Tyler Marr. Tyler Marr is pretty good. So I think if they understand that they just need to be them, that it's a very talented group, and you don't need to do more than what you're capable of doing. You just need to do your job and do your job, and the guy behind you, then he can do his job. Because that has been an issue for us. There has been some press. I need to do more, And I think it's, Maris has been in that before. Maris has been there a little bit. Kling will go through that. Lewis, Steve wants to be Lewis. I call him Steve because we want him to be Steve Kwan, but he wants to be Juan Soto.
Right.
So there's a deal there, the problem there. And so if he would just be Matthew Lewis, we'd be okay with that. And I think with older guys, they want to win and they want to do it and they want to get there. I think the tendency is to maybe, like I said, may just try too hard. And this is not a try-hard game. This is a relaxed, smooth, do-your-thing game, and trust your teammates. And so it's really a rare game where there's pieces of one-on-one competition, the pitcher and the hitter, but the rest of it's, team defense and offense, team offense. And, I think that we have the people. Obviously, we have the starting pitching. Saturday, we're going to run out 2 real guys. And, I feel very confident that we'll go in there and play well.
Big weekend for the Wildcats, biggest series of the year up in Portland at Lewis and Clark, as both teams trying to find a place in the Northwest Conference Tournament. Wildcats are in right now, looking to cement their spot to keep playing next weekend in Forest Grove at the Northwest Conference Championship Tournament. Coach, thanks for the time.
You bet. Thanks,
Good luck this weekend.
Okay.